Rain poured down like a waterfall from the dark sky. Lightning flashed above the forest near the edge of the human colony. Inside a small wooden cabin, a man named Ethan Cole sat near the fireplace, trying to fix an old pulse rifle. He was a quiet man, a retired soldier who wanted nothing more than peace. The sound of thunder didn't scare him, but the loneliness did. Suddenly, there was a faint knock at the door. At first, he thought it was the wind, but the knock came again. Louder this time. Ethan stood up slowly. His instincts waking up, he moved to the door, his hand resting on the sidearm at his waist. When he opened the door, he froze. A small figure stood in the heavy rain. Her hair clung to her face. Her clothes were torn and muddy. She wasn't human. Her eyes glowed faintly blue in the darkness, and her skin shimmered with a soft silver light. She looked no older than 7, shaking violently from the cold. Before Ethan could speak, she whispered one word in a trembling voice. "Dad?" Ethan's heart stopped. For a moment, he couldn't move. He looked behind her, expecting to see someone else. But there was only the rain and the endless night. He stepped forward, kneeling down. "Hey, kid," he said softly. "You're lost, aren't you?" She didn't answer. She just stared at him with wide, glowing eyes. The word "Dad" echoed again from her lips. He couldn't leave her there. Ethan lifted her into his arms. She was too light, and her skin felt warm like she had a fever. He brought her inside and set her near the fireplace. Her strange silver hair caught the firelight, glinting like tiny threads of metal. He wrapped her in a blanket. For a long while, neither of them spoke. The girl watched the fire with quiet eyes, and Ethan tried to understand what was happening. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She blinked, then whispered, "Lyra." Her voice was soft, but carried an echo, almost musical. Ethan nodded. "All right, Lyra. You're safe here." Outside, the storm grew worse. Wind howled through the trees, and the rain sounded like 1,000 tiny hands tapping on the roof. Ethan made her some warm soup. She took a sip, then looked at him again, studying his face like she was searching for something she had lost long ago. When she finally smiled, it broke something inside him. He didn't realize until then how long it had been since he had seen a real smile. Later that night, when she had fallen asleep, Ethan sat by the window. The forest beyond was quiet, but something felt wrong. His soldier's instinct told him they weren't alone. He saw faint lights moving in the distance, small drones scanning the area. He quietly loaded his rifle, his mind racing. Why was an alien child wandering alone near a restricted colony? Why did she call him Dad? And who was searching for her? He looked back at her, sleeping peacefully by the fire. Her small hands glowed faintly with blue light every time she breathed. It wasn't natural. It was something more. As the night deepened, Ethan heard a low hum from the sky. A ship was descending somewhere beyond the ridge. Its lights flickered through the rain clouds. He turned off the lamps and checked the door locks. Whoever was coming wasn't lost. They were searching. Ethan crouched near the girl. Watching her sleep, she murmured in her alien language soft sounds, like wind through glass. Then she said something clear. "They come." His blood ran cold. He moved to the door, checking his weapon again. He didn't know what he was protecting her from, but he knew one thing: no one was taking that child away tonight. The rain outside turned to mist, and a strange blue light glowed between the trees. Shapes moved in the fog, tall and thin, walking slowly toward the cabin. Ethan's grip tightened on the rifle. The girl woke up suddenly, her eyes glowing brighter. She whispered again, "Dad," and pointed at the door. He looked at her and nodded once. "Stay behind me," he said. The knock came again, louder, firmer. He aimed the rifle at the door, lightning flashing across his face. But before he could speak, a soft voice came from the other side. Calm yet powerful, Ethan Cole opened the door. "We are not your enemies." His heart stopped again. How did they know his name? He looked at Lyra, who was trembling. She whispered one word. "Them." Ethan's mind raced. The air outside pulsed with energy, shadows moving beyond the glass. He took a deep breath, his finger on the trigger, and whispered to himself, "What did I just get myself into?" As the door handle turned slowly, the fire flickered, casting golden light across the room. The girl clung to his arm. The knocking stopped, replaced by silence. Then two silhouettes appeared through the doorway glow. Tall, elegant, and inhumanly beautiful. The storm behind them died in an instant. The first woman's eyes were silver. The second's were deep violet. Their voices echoed like music through the cabin. "We've come for the child." Ethan stood firm, his voice low and hard. "You're not taking her." Lightning flashed again outside, and the night seemed to hold its breath, and in that single moment, Ethan Cole realized that whatever this child was, whatever she meant, had just changed his entire life forever. The two alien women stood in the doorway, rain running down their cloaks. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were sharp like blades. One of them had silver-white skin that shimmered softly in the firelight. The other's violet eyes glowed with a strange inner light. Ethan kept his rifle aimed, his finger resting just beside the trigger. "You have nothing to fear, human," said the silver-eyed woman. Her voice was smooth and commanding. "We only seek the child." Ethan's grip tightened. "She's not going anywhere," he said quietly. "Not until you tell me who you are." The second woman stepped forward. Lowering her hood, her long dark hair flowed like liquid metal. "My name is Saren, ambassador of Veril," she said. "And this is Kayla, my protector." Ethan frowned. He had heard the name Viral once before, in old military briefings. A world said to be home to a secretive alien empire. A people who had vanished from the galactic map decades ago. Saren glanced toward the sleeping girl. "Her name is Lyra," she said softly. "She is one of ours." Ethan shook his head. "She called me Dad," he said. "You think I'm just going to hand her over to strangers?" Kala's tone hardened. "She's not meant to be here," she said. "Her presence will draw attention, dangerous attention." Ethan noticed the way Kala's hand hovered near a small device on her belt. He didn't trust them, not yet, but something in Saren's eyes stopped him from firing. They weren't lying, at least not completely. Lyra stirred under the blanket, her small hands glowing faintly blue again. Saren knelt beside her, her voice lowering to a whisper. "Little star, can you hear me?" The child blinked sleepily, then suddenly clung to Ethan's arm. Hiding behind him, Saren's expression softened. "She doesn't remember," she murmured almost to herself. "They erased her memory." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Who did?" He asked. Saren looked up, the fire reflecting in her eyes. "Those who want her power," she said. "Her kind was created from two worlds, your world and mine." Ethan froze, the words echoing in his mind. "What are you saying?" Before Saren could answer, Kyla's wrist device beeped sharply. "They found us," she said, her voice suddenly tense. The calm in the room broke instantly. Saren stood, her cloak sweeping across the floor. "You must help us, human," she said. "If they take her, neither your people nor mine will survive." Ethan ran to the window. In the distance, the forest glowed with moving light search drones cutting through the fog. He saw figures moving between the trees, armored soldiers in black suits with red visors. Not Varalian, not human either. Who the hell are they? Ethan asked. Kayla replied. "Hunters, mercenaries of the Dominion." The cabin shook as a pulse round hit the roof. Splintering wood, Lyra screamed. Ethan grabbed her. "Down!" He shouted, pulling her behind the table. Saren raised her hand, and a shimmering silver barrier formed across the front wall. Deflecting the next blast, sparks flew as energy hit the shield, lighting up the entire room. Kayla crouched beside the window, pulling out a sleek plasma pistol. She returned fire with perfect aim. "They're circling us," she said. Ethan moved to the opposite side, firing through a broken window. His shots were rough but effective. 2 soldiers fell, their armor smoking. The forest was now alive with light and noise. Saren's voice was calm amid the chaos. "Ethan, listen to me," she said. "If we don't leave now, more will come. They can track her energy signature." Ethan nodded. "There's an old escape tunnel behind the cabin," he said. "Built it years ago for storms." Saren looked at him with quiet surprise. "You prepared for war, even in peace," she said. Ethan replied, "Peace never lasts long." They moved fast, Kayla covering the rear, while Ethan guided them to the hidden hatch under the floor. Lyra clung tightly to his neck, whispering, "Dad, don't let them take me." Her small voice cut through the thunder and gunfire. He squeezed her hand. "Never," he said. They dropped into the tunnel, darkness surrounding them. Saren touched the wall and light flowed from her fingers, revealing a narrow passage leading into the forest. "Move!" Kayla shouted from above as another explosion ripped through the cabin. Flames burst through the roof, lighting the rain-soaked night. Ethan helped Lyra down the tunnel, the sound of collapsing wood behind them. When they finally reached the forest clearing, Saren looked back, her eyes filled with quiet sorrow. The cabin, the last piece of Ethan's old life, was gone, burned into ash and smoke. Lyra looked up at him, tears mixing with rain. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He shook his head. "You didn't do this, kid," he said. "But whoever did is going to regret it." From somewhere above, engines roared, dark ships scanning the forest with red beams of light. Saren pointed toward the mountains in the distance. "There's a safe place there," she said. "An outpost of our allies." Ethan glanced at her. "You better be right." Kayla checked her scanner. "They're deploying hunters on foot," she warned. Ethan lifted Lyra higher in his arms. "Then we keep moving," he said. Rain continued to fall as they disappeared into the forest shadows. Behind them, drones swept over the burning ruins of the cabin. Searching for heat signatures, the storm hid their trail, lightning flashing like silent explosions in the sky. As they climbed the rocky slope, Saren looked back once more, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You are right to protect her," she said softly. "She is more than you can imagine." Ethan didn't answer. He only tightened his grip on the child, every step taking them further from safety, yet closer to the truth. Far behind, a distant voice crackled through a com channel. Target escaped, deploying aerial pursuit. The night swallowed the sound, and the 3 figures vanished into the rain-soaked wilderness, unaware that their journey had just begun, and that the fate of 2 worlds was now resting in the hands of a single human and the girl who called him Dad. The forest was silent except for the sound of rain dripping through the tall black trees. Ethan moved carefully, carrying Lyra in his arms, while Saren and Kayla walked beside him, their silver armor faintly glowing under the storm clouds. Every branch crack sounded like danger. Every shadow felt alive. They finally stopped beneath a rocky overhang, hidden by thick vines. Saren raised her hand and touched a small crystal at her wrist. A faint silver dome appeared, shielding them from sensors. "We're safe for a short time," she whispered. Ethan gently set Lyra down, the child trembling and half asleep. He looked at the 2 alien women, his voice firm. "Now you talk. Who is she really? And why are men trying to kill us for her?" Saren sat beside the fire Ethan had lit, her expression heavy. "Lyra is not just a child," she said. She is the first hybrid between human and Varelian blood. Ethan stared. Hybrid? He repeated, That's impossible. Kayla crossed her arms. It was forbidden, she said. But someone broke the code. Saren's eyes softened. 20 years ago, a secret program was started between our worlds. We sought peace through understanding, through shared creation. She hesitated, then looked directly at Ethan. You were part of that program. Even if you didn't know it, Ethan frowned. I was a soldier, not a scientist, Saren nodded slowly. During your recovery on Arcturus 9, when you donated genetic material for medical research, they used it. They used you to create her. The truth hit him like a pulse blast. He looked at Lyra, her small face glowing faintly in the firelight. The same jawline, the same eyes. She's my daughter, he said quietly. Saren nodded. By blood. Yes, Kayla added coldly. But by fate. Much more. Lyra opened her eyes then. Her voice soft. Dad, she whispered again. Ethan turned away, trying to steady his breath. Why was she running? He asked, Who wants her dead? Kala's face darkened. The Krell Dominion, she said. They found out about her creation and saw it as a threat. They killed the scientists and tried to destroy every record of the project, Saren continued. Lyra escaped with help from within our ranks, but her powers awakened too early. And now they can track her energy across systems. Ethan rubbed his forehead. You mean we're carrying a beacon? Kayla nodded. Exactly. Saren reached out and touched Lyra's shoulder. But there's more. She's not just a symbol. She carries something unique in ancient code within her DNA. It can unlock a weapon that predates both our species. Ethan's jaw tightened. A weapon? Great, he muttered. So she's not just a child. She's a key. Saren looked at him, her voice calm. She is hope. If used right. Before Ethan could reply, Kayla's scanner beeped sharply. They're moving faster than expected, she said. Their ships are spreading across the valley. Saren stood. We must reach the mountains before dawn. Ethan packed what little they had left. Strapping the rifle to his back, he looked down at Lyra, who was quietly humming to herself. The melody was strange, soft, echoing, almost like it came from the stars. What's she singing? He asked. Saren smiled faintly. An old Varelian lullaby. It's said to calm storms. They moved again through the forest, guided by Saren's silver light. The terrain grew steep, rocks slick with rain. Ethan helped Lyra climb while Kayla scanned the horizon. We're nearing the ridge, she said. Beyond it is the river and the safe zone. But before they reached it, the ground trembled beneath them. A blue beam cut through the trees, scorching the earth. Kayla pushed Ethan aside just as another shot hit the ground where he stood. They found us, she shouted. Energy blasts ripped through the night. Ethan pulled Lyra behind a fallen tree while Saren raised her hand, forming a shimmering barrier that rippled like water. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Kayla moved fast, returning fire with her plasma pistol. 3 squads, she yelled, and drones overhead. Ethan leaned out, fired 2 precise shots, dropping one of the attackers. They're closing in from the east. He warned. Saren's eyes glowed bright silver. She whispered something in her language, and the air around them shimmered. A pulse of light exploded outward, knocking the enemy soldiers off their feet. Ethan blinked, the light fading. What the hell was that? He asked. Saren replied. A taste of what the child can do. They ran. Racing through the burning trees, drones circled above like hunting hawks. Lyra clung to Ethan, her small hands glowing again. They hurt you, Dad? She asked softly. Not yet, he said, forcing a smile. You just keep that magic trick ready. By dawn. They reached a high cliff overlooking a valley of fog and rivers. Kala stopped, scanning the horizon. We can rest here, she said, Saren nodded. For a few moments, Ethan set Lyra down and knelt beside her. You okay, kid? He asked. She nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting the sunrise. Saren approached slowly, her expression thoughtful. Ethan, she said, you must understand. Lyra's existence changes everything. The Dominion will never stop hunting her. They fear what she represents, a bridge between two powerful races. United instead of divided, Ethan looked out over the valley. And you? He asked. What do you want with her? Saren paused. I want her to live, she said simply. I want both our worlds to see that unity is possible. Kayla frowned, but said nothing. The firelight from her weapon glowed faintly as she kept watch. Lyra reached out and held Ethan's hand. I dream of stars, she whispered. They talk to me. Ethan looked at her gently. What do they say? He asked. She smiled faintly. They say we are not alone. At that moment, a distant roar echoed through the sky. Saren looked up sharply. They've deployed air hunters, she said. Kayla activated her shield. They're scanning for energy signatures. Ethan lifted Lyra again, his tone resolute. Then we move now. Saren met his eyes, a flicker of respect in her voice. You were a soldier, she said. You fight like one of us. He gave a small smile. Maybe I am. The group vanished into the mist-covered mountains. Unaware that high above them, an enormous ship hovered silently. A voice crackled through its command deck. Track the hybrid. Capture the human alive. The hunt had only just begun. And as Ethan carried Lyra higher into the light of the new dawn, he knew one truth with certainty. He would die before he let anyone take his daughter away. The first rays of dawn barely touched the mountain when the silence shattered. A deep metallic roar rolled through the valley, followed by the sharp whine of engines. Ethan turned toward the sky and saw them sleek black dropships cutting through the clouds like blades. The Krell Dominion had found them. Kayla pulled Lyra close and snapped her scanner shut. They're here. Too many for a straight fight. Saren's silver eyes flashed. We hold them long enough to reach the ridge. There's a signal tower there once we reach it. I can call help. Ethan checked the charge on his pulse rifle. Then we fight our way through. The forest exploded as pods slammed into the ground. Soldiers poured out in formation, armored and glowing with red visors. Ethan felt his heart pounding. He looked down at Lyra. Stay behind me, no matter what happens, she nodded. Small hands glowing faint blue again, blaster fire whipped through the trees. The air filled with smoke and burning leaves. Ethan dropped behind a fallen log and fired back, each shot lighting up the rain-soaked woods. Kayla moved like lightning, twin plasma blades slicing through two soldiers at once. Sparks and blood hit the mud. Saren stood tall, her hands raised, silver energy spreading like wings from her arms, forming a barrier that shielded them. Go! She shouted. Ethan grabbed Lyra and ran, their boots splashing through puddles. Explosions echoing behind them. The forest blazed with red light. Kayla covered their retreat, moving with perfect precision. Every movement was calculated, every strike deadly. Ethan ducked behind a ridge, his rifle overheating. He watched Saren deflect another blast, the force of it throwing her backward. He rushed to her, helping her up. You okay? He asked. She nodded weakly. The shield won't hold forever. Ethan looked around. We can't keep running like this. Kayla joined them, her armor cracked and smoking. They're circling us, she said. If we don't move now, we're done. Lyra tugged Ethan's sleeve. I can help, she whispered. He turned to her. No. Stay back. But her glowing eyes had already begun to brighten. Dad, I can make them stop. Before he could stop her, she stepped forward, her small hands rising toward the sky. The rain around them slowed, droplets hanging in midair. A blinding blue pulse shot upward, The energy wave rolled through the forest like a storm. Every Dominion soldier froze, their armor sparking violently. Ethan shielded his face as the blast expanded outward. Trees bent under the pressure. The air itself seemed to shimmer, then silence. The soldiers collapsed one by one, their systems fried. The only sound left was the whisper of rain resuming. Lyra's knees gave out. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. "Easy, kid, I've got you," he said softly. Her skin was burning hot, her breathing shallow. Saren knelt beside them, eyes wide with awe. "She unlocked it," she whispered. "The virile human resonance." Kayla scanned the area. "We bought time. But that energy burst will call more ships." Ethan looked at the child in his arms. "She can't keep doing that," he said. Saren nodded. "She's not meant to fight. She's meant to unite." Thunder rolled across the mountains, and in the distance, Ethan saw lights flickering through the clouds, dozens of enemy ships descending. "We need higher ground," he said. "If that tower can reach your allies." "We call them now." The group pushed forward through the burning forest. Smoke curled around the trunks. Ashes falling like snow. Kayla scouted ahead, cutting through fallen branches with her blade. Lyra stirred weakly, her eyes half open. "Dad," she whispered. "The stars are angry." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Then we'll calm them down together." By midday, they reached the ridge. From there, the entire valley stretched below. Fires burning where the dropships had landed. The old signal tower stood crooked at the top, half buried in vines. Ethan helped Saren to the control panel while Kayla stood guard. Saren pressed her palm to the metal. Her silver light merging with the circuits. The tower came alive. Lights flickering and a deep hum vibrating the ground. "I've opened a link," she said. "But it's unstable." Before Ethan could answer, Kayla shouted, "Incoming!" A swarm of drones screamed toward them from the valley. Firing in perfect rhythm, Ethan dove behind a rock, returning fire. "We're out of time," he yelled. Saren closed her eyes, focusing. "I just need 30 seconds." Lyra suddenly stood up, her small figure glowing brighter than before. "I can help again," she said. Ethan grabbed her arm. "No. It nearly killed you last time." She smiled faintly. "It's okay, Dad. They need me." Her hands rose, and the air around her filled with shimmering light. The drones froze mid-flight, their engines whining before shutting down completely. They fell like metal rain, crashing into the forest below. Saren's voice broke through the static. "Signal sent. Allies inbound." Kayla exhaled in relief. "Then we just have to survive until they get here." But the ground trembled again, and from the smoke below rose something enormous. A Dominion walker. A towering machine of metal and plasma cannons. Its red sensors locked onto them instantly. Ethan cursed under his breath. "Of course," the walker fired. The blast tearing through the ridge, throwing them all backward. Saren screamed as the tower cracked in half. Kayla pulled her clear just before it fell. Ethan rolled across the dirt, shielding Lyra with his body. When the dust settled, the walker was climbing toward them, each step shaking the mountain. Saren was barely standing. Kayla's armor was broken. Ethan's rifle was nearly empty. Lyra looked up at the monster and whispered, "I can stop it." Ethan shook his head. "No more. You'll die." She smiled weakly. "Not if you're with me." She took his hand, and a sudden surge of energy rippled through them both. His vision filled with light. He felt her heartbeat sync with his own. Together they faced the walker. Lyra lifted her hands. Ethan raised his rifle. The blue and silver light combined, forming a massive wave of energy that tore through the machine. For a moment, the mountain itself glowed. Then the walker exploded, fragments scattering into the wind. The silence after the blast was absolute. Smoke drifted through the broken trees. Ethan fell to his knees, holding Lara close. She was breathing faint but alive. Saren limped over, eyes full of awe. "You did it," she said. Kayla nodded. "No." They did it together. Ethan looked toward the sky, where faint silver ships were descending through the clouds. "Your allies?" he asked. Saren smiled tiredly. "And yours?" "Perhaps." As the ships approached, rain began to fall again, washing the blood and ashes from the earth. Ethan whispered, "We're not done yet." "Kid," Lyra smiled softly, her eyes closing. "I know, Dad. The stars still need us." And as the Varelian ships touched down, the forest burned behind them, the smoke rising like a signal across two worlds. The storm had passed. The morning sky above the mountains was painted in pale gold and blue. Smoke rose from the valley, where the Dominion forces had fallen. Ethan sat near the broken tower, holding Lara close. Her breathing was slow but steady, her small hands still glowing faintly. He brushed a strand of silver hair from her face and whispered, "You did good." "Kid." Saren stood nearby, her cloak torn, watching as silver Varelian ships descended through the clouds. Sleek and silent, they landed on the flat ridge ahead. Soldiers in shining armor stepped out. Their markings carried the royal crest of Veril. Kayla straightened, pain visible on her face. "We made it," she said quietly. A tall Varelian woman emerged from the lead ship. Her presence was powerful yet graceful. Silver patterns shimmered across her skin. "Saren," she called, her voice strong. "You brought them safely." Saren bowed deeply. "My Empress," she said, "at great cost." "But yes," Ethan stood, still holding Lyra. "So this is her world?" he asked. The Empress's gaze softened as she looked at the child. "Yes, and yours," she said. Ethan frowned. "Mine?" The Empress nodded slowly. "Lyra is the bridge between our species. Born from your courage and our hope," Lyra stirred, blinking at the bright light. When she saw the Empress, she tilted her head curiously. "Do I know you?" she asked softly. The Empress knelt, her expression tender. "Not yet, little one." "But you will." Saren turned to Ethan. "She will be protected here. No one will harm her again." Ethan hesitated, his chest tightening. "And me?" he asked quietly. Kayla smiled faintly. "You saved our future. You'll be honored." He shook his head. "I didn't do it for honor." The Empress rose, stepping closer. "You did it because you are her father," she said gently. "That is something no empire can create." Lyra reached for Ethan's hand. "You're not leaving, right?" she whispered. Ethan knelt beside her, his throat tight. "Never." "If they'll let me stay." The Empress looked at Saren, who gave a silent nod. "He may remain," the Empress declared. "Lyra's bond is not just of blood, it is a spirit." The Varelian soldiers saluted, and the ships powered down. The mountain air grew still. Saren approached Ethan quietly. "Your world will want answers," she said. "They'll come looking for you." Ethan looked out over the valley, where the smoke had faded into mist. "Then let them come," he said. "Maybe they'll finally see what peace looks like." Kayla smirked. "You sound like one of us now." Ethan smiled back. "Maybe I am." As the sun climbed higher, Lyra sat between them, drawing patterns in the dirt with her glowing fingers. "What are you making?" Ethan asked. She smiled. "A new home." The Empress watched them in silence, a rare warmth in her eyes. "The prophecy of the Silver Bridge was true," she murmured. "Two worlds bound by one heart." Saren touched her shoulder. "What will you tell the council?" The Empress looked to the horizon. "That hope survived the fire," she said simply. A gentle wind blew across the ridge, carrying the scent of rain and ash. Lyra leaned her head against Ethan's arm. "The stars are quiet now," she whispered. "They're happy." Ethan smiled softly. "Then maybe it's time we rest too, but far beyond the mountains." Deep in the shadow of space, a Dominion cruiser drifted silently. Damaged but alive, inside, a figure with red eyes watched the transmission of the battle replay. "So the hybrid lives?" the voice hissed. "And the human protects her." The figure turned toward the stars. "Then the real war begins." Back on the ridge, Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at the sky, sensing something unseen. Sarah noticed and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You feel it too," she said. He nodded slowly. "It's not over." Lyra looked up at him, her small face calm. "Dad," she said, "we'll fight together, right?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Always?" he whispered. The Empress stepped forward, her voice carrying across the mountain. "Then let it be known," she said, "from this day forward, humanity and Veral stand as one." The Varalian soldiers bowed, their armor flashing silver in the sunlight. Ethan held Lyra close, watching the ships rise again into the sky for the first time in years. He didn't feel alone. He had lost everything once, but somehow gained something far greater. As the wind whispered through the trees, Lyra looked up with sleepy eyes. "Dad," she murmured. "Thank you for finding me." Ethan smiled, brushing her silver hair gently. "You found me too." "Kid." The clouds broke apart, sunlight pouring down like a promise. The fire in the forest was gone, replaced by peace, for now at least. The stars above watched quietly, and somewhere deep within them, the future of two worlds began to change. And when Ethan looked toward the distant horizon, he knew one truth would forever remain: family wasn't where you were born. It was who you chose to stand with when the universe tried to break you.